What's up, guys? It's McKinley Crain here, and today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free movie review of Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. Well, it's actually just called Space Jam: A New Legacy, but you know what I mean. Oh, by the way, this is not only going to be my review,
but my review also.
Yeah, I'm doing a collaboration with my younger brother.
What's up?
This is
Sutton Crain. Probably won't upload this week, but I'll try my best. I run a second channel over in the description. Go check it out. It's pretty cool. I upload stuff once every 1,000 years. So, yeah, let's just hop right into the review.
Anyway, so we both still have our tickets.
Oh.
We saw this movie like 2 weeks ago. We saw Free Guy the day it came out. Yeah, we both did. We both went to the movie theater and saw Free Guy. And we saw Space Jam 2 the day afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
We actually saw it for $0.00 because we had like coupons, and we didn't know how to spend them, and I'd basically seen pretty much everything there except for like Stillwater and everything. But you know, that's an incredibly slow movie. That's like, I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard it's slow, and I bet it would be something that I would like, but it probably wouldn't be something he would like, and we were going to go see the movie together. Plus, he wasn't legally old enough to get in the movie. I could have gotten to the movie by myself, but he couldn't have because he's only only 14.
Yeah, I take points off movies big time for pacing issues. I really do not enjoy pacing issues. It's one of my number one kind of problems with movies. And I put them on my patented 130-point scale and then use a calculator to divide it by 100 to see what it averages out to.
Okay, anyway, so we ended up going to go see Space Jam 2. I had already seen The Suicide Squad and Jungle Cruise and Old, so it's just like, if I'm gonna be like using this coupon or whatever, I'm gonna go see a new movie, which is why we didn't just go see those movies, because I'd already seen all those movies. He hadn't, but I had.
Exactly, and you don't want to ruin the experience for anybody.
Well, I liked all of those movies, so it wouldn't be a bad experience. It'd actually be a great rewatch experience. But, you know, I just really wanted to see something new.
Exactly.
So we ended up going... Sorry, son.
Yeah. So we ended up going and seeing Space Jam: A New Legacy. Once we got in there, it just pretty much started. And the first 15 minutes of the movie were very slow. There was some acting on Lebron James's part that I didn't like that much, and I thought was just kind of cue card reading, you know, kind of like reading off a teleprompter almost. Felt kind of stale, and the whole setup with his son, I didn't think that was very original or done well at the beginning.
Of course it wasn't original. It's basically just kind of a... I haven't technically seen the whole Space Jam movie. I've seen most of the original Space Jam. I remember...
I have seen the full Space Jam movie originally.
Yeah.
It wasn't too great either.
I haven't seen the full movie. I've only seen I've seen maybe 40 minutes of it. I saw a lot of it, but not enough to have seen the whole movie, if you know what I mean. They were playing it at school back 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. It was the last day of school, and then my teacher was just like, I ain't got nothing to do, but they're watching Space Jam in the other room, so yeah, let's go watch Space Jam. It was either that or play some stupid social studies trivia game, and I didn't want to do that. So I ended up seeing most of the original Space Jam. I haven't seen enough Space Jam to actually, have seen the whole movie. I have, however, seen all of this movie. And let me just say, from what I saw of the original Space Jam, it was much better than this movie was. Okay, this movie, I didn't hate it at all. But I didn't like it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. I thought it was okay. It's just an okay movie. It was worth seeing, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Um,
A lot. The first half of the movie really did feel, and you could tell very much. It was honestly just a bunch of references that had been put through the ringer a million times. Just felt like a big old Warner Brothers patting themselves on the back, being like, "Aren't we great? Look at all these franchises we've created that have grossed millions, billions, maybe even trillions." And it was just a bunch of references until filler references until they could actually get on with the game and the rest of the movie.
and I liked a lot of those references. I actually liked a lot of those references.
Yes, some of them were enjoyable.
Like the Mad Max one.
Exactly. The Mad Max one was enjoyable.
But yes, a lot of the references did feel very forced. I agree with that.
Especially in the basketball scene with the crowd. A lot of the crowd...
Spoiler-free review, Sutton. Don't spoil it.
All right. I won't. This isn't too much, though. Some of the characters in the background look a bit off. Like the animation style has changed on a few. Some of them have like... They just look like people cosplaying as the characters. In, let's say... I'm not going to bring up a specific character, actually, but... there's a specific character in a suit from a movie, and it's pretty much just somebody dressed up like them. They didn't even like bother to CG it in. It's just somebody dressed up like it, you know. The outfit didn't look too convincing either, so that was a problem I had.
Yeah, and I thought that I did think that a lot of the... Okay, yeah, sorry about that. By the way, if you see me like messing around with my back, it's because there are a lot of mosquitoes in here, and you know they're really annoying and they're really itchy or whatever. I don't know why they're not bothering you.
Well, yeah, but on top of that, in the crowd, also with the animated characters, you would see a lot of repeated motion, like a walk cycle almost. Like they would clap and then they would look side to side and they'd pause for about 3 seconds and then they'd run it again and it'd be the exact same eyeball motions, hair physics, everything.
I didn't really notice that, but that's because I wasn't paying too much attention to the crowd in the final scene.
The only reason why I was paying attention to the crowd was because it was a desperate game of keep away. You could tell that they kind of fell when it came to the crowd, much like in the original Space Jam. They were trying to keep you interested in the game itself in the original Space Jam, so you wouldn't notice the characters being like completely copied. There'd be like 5 of the same exact guy here, there, and everywhere. But they were trying to keep you interested in the game, in like what the original...
My bad.
They were trying to keep you interested in the game, and they had one job. That was their goal, to keep you interested in the game. And I just wasn't interested. I just got bored and looked at the crowd. I'm like, you had one job to keep me interested in what's happening here. When I'm so bored, I start noticing animation, like, start to fall flat. I'm really bored because I usually don't notice those. And I can sit around for hours and rewatch episodes of my favorite TV shows, animated, whether it be 2D animation or 3D animation, over and over again, and find nothing. But never before really in a movie have I been bored enough to where I stare at the background and start finding problems. And the fact that there are just problems there is enough.
Yeah, honestly, it was slightly boring at times. It's mostly enjoyable. It's mostly not a boring movie, but there were like, for like 2 or 3 minutes in total of the whole movie, I was kind of bored.
Exactly. Like when they have to go rescue the Toons.
That was the least boring part.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go too much into detail, but it kind of felt like stalling at times.
Yes, it did feel like filler. I will give you that.
Yes.
But, good filler. The the enjoyable kind of filler.
Well, about 50% of it was good filler. There were a couple scenes that dragged on too long, and you're like, okay, we get it. This happened, or this is happening, or this has happened. So some references were thrown in there for older audiences. They really did feel like they were just slapped on really quickly to try to get older audiences to also get into this film.
Like the Game of Thrones one. Like, there's a reference to Game of Thrones in this movie, and this is a children's movie.
Exactly.
Like, how are, 6-year-olds supposed to get that reference? And honestly, they shouldn't be getting that reference, because they shouldn't be watching Game of Thrones!
They shouldn't be watching Game of Thrones. And usually if it was just a background Game of Thrones reference, you'd just say, oh, well, that's just a background reference for older audiences to notice. But the main character was directly involved with this. This was part of the plot point almost. So if it's almost part of the plot, and it's really something that kids who are watching this movie should be knowing what it is, why would you put it in there?
Yeah.
At that point.
Honestly, just back to the references. I know I've been talking about the movie references in this movie a lot, but I will agree that those are very forced references, but like I said, they're a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with the Matrix one, and the Mad Max one, and the Austin Powers one was actually pretty funny,
very good,
and very clever.
It almost made me laugh.
It made me smile. I was just
full tooth smile.
I was just like,
which is very rare for me. Exactly. However, let's move on to the villain.
Oh, yeah. I can't even remember what he's called. The algorithm. Yes, I got it.
Algorithm, that's his name.
Now, I think that Don Cheadle is a very good actor.
Exactly. In the first half, he kind of had the problem that LeBron James did. He did put way more emotion and depth into his performance than LeBron James in the first half, but that's not to say it wasn't still kind of a flat character, It's almost like he kind of, halfway through, they took a break, a lunch break, and then he kind of just understood, and then he kind of found himself out, and he was good in the second half. He really was really good in the second half, but I don't like how, per se, the Deus Ex Machina at the end.
I thought that he was alright. There were some times I was just like, Don Cheadle was not well cast in this role. He's a good actor, but there were, at some points, it felt like another actor was supposed to play this character, not Don Cheadle. And I have no idea why they honestly picked Don Cheadle, because he just felt like a very random choice. Even when I was seeing the commercials for the villain, I was just like, what? I was just like Rhodey from the Iron Man movies. Well,
yeah,
the sequels anyway.
And a lot of kids, because he does get mad at one of the main characters, and I noticed as a kid, if a villain was just displaying any sort of hateable qualities, I would instantly have this hate for them when I grow up, this built up emotion of oh man, I despise them. And it would start leaking over into my thoughts about the actor themselves. I would see the actor's face and I would think of their role from a kid's movie or something when they were evil or something. And they would kind of leak over into my perception of them. And I realized a lot of kids are actually going to grow up with an irrational hate of Don Cheadle now. Because he did get kind of, villain-like at the end.
He was villain-like the whole time. He was the villain.
He did get kind of unhinged at the end. He got pretty steamed at one of the characters.
Yeah, I was pretty mad at him, towards the end.
Exactly, and if you, as someone who's older, gets mad at that, then small children are probably going to be just completely enraged, and they're going to hate him for no reason.
Yeah, you want to know one thing I despised about this movie? There was one scene that I really despised in this movie. It's the scene when LeBron James is actually falling into Toon World or whatever you call it.
Yes.
And the crater literally makes a Nike symbol shape. Literally,
Yes,
they weren't even trying to hide it.
Let's talk about product placement in this movie. This movie is packed with it.
Most of the time, it doesn't bother me. But that
half.
one time, I hated it. I was just like, what the heck? They're not even trying.
They started off okay, and it was enough to where I wasn't going to point it out too much. I was like, okay, LeBron James is wearing Nike shoes. His kid's wearing Nike shoes. They're wearing Nike hoodies. Even the basketball has a Nike symbol on it. Everything in the first half of the movie has Nike symbols on it.
But they're a sports company, so that just made sense. It was just
it did make sense.
If you're gonna like have product placement, like just actually advertise your products, and it would make sense that the James family, like being a basketball family.
But when it's thrown out there, like kind of, I love the first Transformers movie, but I'm just gonna say this: in the first Transformers movie, with Shia LaBeouf, there was a lot of product placement, especially with Mountain Dew in the latter half of the movie.
I like that product placement. It was actually very fun. I was like, oh cool, like the Mountain Dew machine is turning into a robot.
But there was also, I think, some black in the, like, with movies like Back to the Future, they did product placement right.
Perfectly, actually. It just made sense. It made sense that movie would have product placement. It just made sense.
The subtle references, like with the rehydration pizza scene, it was so smooth, and the way the camera moved with the characters, you weren't bored, so you weren't focusing on the Black & Decker.
And it worked too.
But everybody, when they watched that movie, just in their brain went Black & Decker, and just kind of wrote it off. The message got across without ruining the scene itself.
Yeah, and the product placement actually worked in that movie because every time I rewatch that movie and that scene plays, I'm just like, oh, I need to go get me some Pizza Hut right now.
Exactly. With Pizza Hut, with Pepsi, of course. That movie was pretty much what set me on the Pepsi train.
Same. I didn't start drinking it very often until after I saw that movie.
And that could either
and then I realized it was my favorite soda and I loved it. And
that could be either a good thing or a bad thing. But the way they did it was they just put it in there. There's a fine line between throwing it in there and making it subtle and slapping it on there and making it like obtuse and visual to everyone. So everyone goes, oh, dang, that's product placement. Like when he falls from the sky and despite wearing Nike clothes already, the crater that he makes in the ground is in the shape of the Nike swoosh. Like, no, you don't do that.
LeBron James, okay, on to the acting. LeBron James, he's all right in this movie. For the first half, he's just okay. Sometimes he's a little bit of the time he's not good, if you know what I mean. He's a little bit.
Sometimes he felt like it was kind of just a brick wall talking.
Yeah, but towards the very end, he gets actually really good. During the final showdown, that was actually good cinema there.
Enjoyable
and touching. It touched my heart. That was a good scene. And the chemistry between him and his son is actually pretty good. I like the chemistry between him and his son. It actually provides leads to a nice message, if you know what I mean. Just the message of just be you,
Yeah, exactly. That I felt that too. It was actually a pretty good ending. But the villains, besides Algae Rhythm, I did not like as well. And let's talk about that.
I thought they were alright.
I'm not going to reveal anything. The promotional commercials with the toys and everything, with McDonald's and stuff, didn't already reveal anything that hasn't already been revealed for people who haven't watched the movies.
The Goon Squad.
The Goon Squad, yes. I didn't like how they actually, in the original movie, they stole the talent, quote unquote talent, from specific characters. And when the little alien guys absorbed the talent, they kind of became in their likeness. One of them was tall and kind of had a buzz cut almost. But beyond that, the similarities were just, he's tall, he's lanky, and he has a buzz cut, and that's it. With this movie, they tried to do that as well, but in 3D, especially with the kind of slapped-on 3D animation, because they give you a taste of how good the 2D animation is, and then the main villain just comes in and it's just like, oh, 3D. So I don't know, but the villains, the Goon Squad, really were mixed with famous basketball players, like from the U.S. Women's basketball team, some other male and female characters. I felt at times that the idea to combine them with different animals was just kind of thrown in there as kind of a last-second thing. But there were times when I thought that the villains were actually likable, but that was few, scattered throughout. But the taglines were almost kind of what I had a problem with. The things they would say, the dialogue really. Dialogue really is like your first impression of a character, besides what they look like. And if they kind of look cheesy or kind of ruin a person in real life for you, like imagine if they had done this in the original Space Jam with the basketball players. You would always kind of have that in your brain that they had been merged with some animal. It's like a caricature almost. If you knew someone and then they had a caricature drawn of them, every time you looked at them, you would think of that caricature, So what was your opinion on the Goon Squad?
They were just all right. I thought that they did an okay job. And moving on to like how the entertainment factor of this movie, like how entertaining it actually is, it's actually pretty entertaining. Except for a few like 3 to 4 minutes of like just pure boringness. And that pure boringness is mostly, sorry LeBron, I really like you in the NBA, but it's mostly brought by LeBron James.
Yes, we go to a movie theater most of the time that serves food, and they always put a complimentary straw out. Now, sometimes when I'm bored during the movie, I'll subconsciously fiddle with my straw, just, folding it, twisting it, yanking it. By the time the first half of this movie came to an end, I had pretty much made an origami swan with that thing.
I noticed. I was like, I had one eye on the movie and one eye on Sutton. I was like paying attention to both of them. I was just like, what the heck is he doing with that straw?
Yes, and I fumbled around with it so much that I actually lost it. I made like 9 things with it. But then I got more interested in the movie itself and less where did my straw go. And that is basic filmmaking. Keep your audience entertained. And they finally did it, and it actually made me happy and interested. But the thing that really got me back on board with this movie was definitely the Mad Max and Austin Powers references. It was pretty much like a shining moment in the movie.
On to the performances. I know we've already touched on some of the performances in this movie, like LeBron's okay performance overall. But on to like
the tunes.
On to everybody. Like, okay, so who gave the best performance in this movie?
Probably.
Let's say it with me. We already discussed this. We discussed this when we were walking over to Walmart afterwards. 3, 2, 1. Zendaya!
Yeah, exactly.
She actually gave a great
Lola
performance.
Bunny, Zendaya was,
not perfect, but great.
Almost perfect performance. Besides reading off scripted lines, I have always been impressed with Zendaya's ability to take what it usually is a boring and, okay, yeah, I get it, role, and turned it into a, wow, that's fantastic role.
Yeah. And the voice actually just matched with the animation. Like, her voice actually...
It did.
She surprisingly felt like she was, actually made to play Lola Bunny. When I heard that Zendaya was playing Lola Bunny, I was just like, well, it's probably just going to be an okay performance. I feel like they just tried to grab some celebrity and, make
Throw
it
in
for
there.
me. You know what I'm saying?
But I was actually very surprised at how much the voice fit the face.
And her character's great, too. Lola Bunny's great in this movie.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Bugs is good, but he's not great.
Not great. And again, with Dom, the kid, he did actually a fantastic job, I think.
He could be a little annoying
towards
sometimes
the end of the movie.
in a bad way, like that actually affected his character.
Towards the end of the movie, he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job.
In the middle, he was okay. Good.
Beginning, he was actually pretty good. I felt like, he played the character he was supposed to be playing very well.
Exactly.
He got a little annoying towards the middle.
Exactly.
In a bad way, but,
in a bad way.
It was still a good performance overall.
I don't know, actually, how annoying can be in a good way.
Well, when I say annoying in a good way, I mean, like, purposely annoying, like, where it actually makes what the studio wants you to, perceive of the character.
Annoying.
Yes.
Versus...
That's good. That's
versus
actually...
unintentionally...
When a character is supposed to be annoying, and they are annoying, that's great. Like, you know how in the fifth Harry Potter movie, Dolores Umbridge is supposed to be hated, you're supposed to hate her?
Exactly.
That was a great performance.
It makes you love the movie all the more because they knew that they had found an actor who could fit the role of Dolores Umbridge and just make her one of the most hated characters of all time. But that didn't bring up the hate for the movie. That
made the movie better.
That made the movie all the more better.
Yeah. Anyway. What about the animation, Sutton?
I already briefly discussed this, but...
I dug it. I don't know about you.
I liked it a lot. The 2D animation especially. But the 3D animation was kind of where they started to lose me.
I don't agree with you. The 3D animation looked great.
I did like the 3D animation in spots. Like with Donald Duck, I think they did it well. And Bugs Bunny, I think his face was a bit out of proportion. But with his teeth especially. But Porky Pig in the rap scene, Notorious P.I.G., that, I'm not going to go too much into that because this is a spoiler-free review, but...
That's not a spoiler, Sutton. When I say spoiler, I mean, like, referring to, like, the main... all the little twists and turns in the story, the main plot, you know what I'm saying?
Well, actually, that is...
like, who wins, who loses,
it
that
is
kind of thing.
actually, because remember, it's style points. But... there was kind of a drop in animation quality on him, and in the characters in the background especially. There, I loved to bits the 2D animation though. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, man, it was.
How about the very, very ending? So not plot points, just the kind of
it was all right
resolution. Yeah. I kind of didn't like the, hand-wavy explanation at the end. That lasted about 3 seconds. But, okay, this is a kid's movie. They don't really have to have everything in plot together.
I disagree with that, but, I thought the ending was all right. And overall, this movie is worth seeing. It's not the best movie ever. It's not even a good movie, technically, but it's alright. It's enjoyable enough. This movie has a 26% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, so the other critics hated it. But it has a 79% audience score, which means that the audience actually kind of liked it. So,
what would you give it?
Okay, first, before I give my final score, I gotta ask you something. Who do you agree with more, the critics or the audience on this one?
I would say the critics, actually. And while I did say that it is in essence a kids movie and really doesn't have to have everything perfect, that doesn't mean it can get away with just being horribly inconsistent.
I knew that was the word you were thinking of.
So that's really all I have to say about that. I do agree a bit more with the critics than the audience. I think the audience had some valid points, but overall I just go a bit more with the critics.
Okay. I usually agree with the critics more, the other critics more. But, this time I'm going to agree with the audience. It's not a bad movie. It's not like, a masterpiece. It's not like, serious cinema, like, revolutionary cinema. It's not like a masterpiece. It's not a perfect movie like The Dark Knight or anything.
But it's not something you would throw up on sight of. Yeah.
We had to pause the video because somebody came in.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I would agree more with the audience. It's a fun enough movie. It's not a piece of serious cinema, but it doesn't have to be. It's Space Jam, for crying out loud.
Exactly. It's not perfect. It's not a masterpiece of cinema, but it's not something that you would throw up after watching or see it on TV and just flip through it like every other channel.
I think it's worth watching, and
I do too. But that doesn't excuse...
Seriously? I thought you hated that movie.
I do think it's actually worth watching just because it's the second Space Jam movie. But that doesn't excuse a lot of things in the movie which docked my points. I can give it a low score, but still have a slightly higher opinion of the film, if that makes sense.
I'm giving it a fresh score, and my opinion is fresh.
Exactly.
Okay, this is my score. This is what I'm giving Space Jam A New Legacy. I'm giving it a 77% out of 100%, which is the equivalent of a C+. It's still worth watching. It's not a good movie, but it's not a bad movie. It's just okay. And if you just turn your brain off for a minute, not for a minute, for like a full 2 hours, but if you just turn your brain off for 2 hours, you will mostly have fun. If you just kind of ignore the fact that this is just basically a big ad for every Warner Brothers movie ever, and for Nike, and just for the NBA in general, it's just just watch the NBA. No, I don't think there's an actual NBA channel. Watch the ESPN channel. You know what I'm saying? It's
exactly.
What would you? It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, hold on a minute. I didn't finish. It's still worth watching. And if you like the first Space Jam, I can't promise that you're gonna like this one. But if you're just looking to have an entertaining time, it's worth watching. It's okay. It's fresh. It's a fresh movie. What would you give it?
So, sadly, my opinion of this movie is higher than my actual score of this movie. And that is the case a lot with my 130-point scale, which I used to grade a lot of movies recently. My doing all the math and stuff, and I really don't want to go into it, mostly because I've forgotten it except for the ending score. But I'm going to have to give it a 35%.
Which
out
is
of 100, which is the equivalent of probably an F.
Actually, more of yeah, you're right, F.
Yeah, it would be an F, and sadly it has to be rotten, but
Woo!
it's just below fresh in my opinion.
What is fresh for you?
Fresh, really, for me, is about 50% instead of 60.
You're kidding, right?
Yeah.
That's a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes.
I know,
you know that, right?
But in my opinion, it should be 50 instead of 60 because then it evens out.
Yeah, honestly, I thought of that too. I've just been when a movie has a 53% and it's rotten, I'm just but doesn't that mean that the majority of the critics actually liked it?
Exactly. But really, I do think this movie is worth watching, if not barely. So, that is often the case with my 130-point scale, but, it's not perfect, but neither is the Rotten Tomatoes score chart.
All right. So, anyway, that was our Space Jam 2 review. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And also, there's going to be a link to his channel in the description. So, if you liked him in this video, subscribe to him and check out his channel.
Exactly.
But you have to actually check out his channel first before you subscribe to him. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I will return.
And I will too also, if not in probably a year. See you later.
Yeah. I will return. I'm going to say it again. Bye, guys.